Here's what's breaking in South Florida this morning. A Miami strip club on the water had to close down early this morning after a yacht caught fire. But it's not just any yacht. That yacht was being rented by well-known rapper and producer Metro Boomin.
The yacht was located on a dock area behind the booby trap on the River Strip Club. More than 30 Miami Dade fire rescue units responded to this scene. The incident causing a large crowd to take a look at what was happening right outside.
It's gonna explode, and I'm like literally not trying to be around there.
The yacht eventually sank into the Miami River.
Hashtag because Miami.
I feel bad for anyone who's just listening to the podcast because that video was sensational. That was a amazing. Because Miami moment, if ever there was one. It was a near tragedy at BT's on the River, a.k.a. Booby Trap, last weekend. I mean, just craziness. So Metro Boomin, hip-hop producer and artist, rents a 95-foot yacht, cruises up the Miami River to BT's, to a riverside strip club, and the thing lights on fire, and the bouncers and security, they hear like alarms, they see smoke, and they go running over. There's like 10 crew members on board. They take them off, and the next thing you know, the thing just is a fireball, and everybody in the strip club starts running out on the street. And what's amazing about it is that like the party just continues. They're just making it rain in the street.
The outfits, my God, the outfits coming to the scene were amazing. The stripper clothes, it was the best.
Yeah, because they're all just running out and they're like schlepping their bags.
Like, vámonos, vámonos, chica, vámonos. Did you hear the Spanish?
Thongs and boots. And this is Paula Barros, a.k.a. Pauley, stand-up comic extraordinaire and voiceover artist who you were saying before the show, you speak accurate Spanish, which is, what does that mean?
I speak that TV Spanish, which, like, if you're from Miami, you know that none of our countries really speaks like that. Like, if you're from Cuba, if you're from Venezuela, if you're from Chile, if you're from Dominican Republic, nobody speaks in like that, like, bienvenido al programa, bienvenido a Porque Miami, este es mi amigo Billy Corben. Like, where is that country that speaks like that? You know what I mean? It's like this.
I'm guessing Telemundo, Univision.
Is it a country?
Maybe.
Imagine.
Is that...
Bienvenido al país de nosotros.
Why? So what
is
Miami Spanish sound like?
You heard it in the video. It's like, vámonos, chica, vámonos, corre. You know, it's awesome. It's like my Uber driver today was the best. I mean, he was just like, ¿Pa dónde tú vas vestida así? Like, he was like, where are you going? Like, dressed so like, because I'm wearing a very short skirt. None of y'all can see, but he was very genuinely curious. And that's how Miami is. We're very, like, loose in our subjects and loose in our, diction, because we don't really finish words. And it's very, like, it's tranquilo y tropical. That's Spanish
loose
here.
in diction when we're talking about booby trap.
And that's the thing. You don't call it booby trap if you don't want shit like that to happen around it. I'm sorry. It's just meant to happen.
Absolutely. So there's like 30 fire trucks.
Was it a blunt? Was it a blunt someone left on the boat? Or was it electrical?
They are investigating. I have no idea, but like 30 fire trucks showed up. It was like this huge fire because apparently because the size of the boat and the amount, like the fuel load, it was just.
Or it could be liquor.
It was just, or it could be.
And they were throwing money and cash. Did you see that?
In the street. Well, the show must go on.
God.
Like just because everybody got forced out of the club onto the street for safety doesn't mean nobody wants to go home. Clearly, and what happens at Booby Trap stays on Instagram, apparently. Because like everybody's just like running out, the customers and the dancers, but everybody looked like they were having a good time.
And they looked amazing. It's the best fire scene I've ever seen.
And nobody got injured either from the fire or from like falling on those heels. Those heels are epic.
Meanwhile, we have like all this tragedy happen on the other, coast with fires, and this, like, we just make fires look way too fun. We should not. It's not good.
And the boat ultimately sank. And there's footage of the boat just all of a sudden listing
bottom of the bay,
sinking into the Miami River. It's really rather incredible.
And this one girl was like, "That was my client. And now I'm fucked." Because like he wasn't spending money, I guess.
What's the difference? It was a rental boat. What does he care? It's probably insured. He's still got whatever cash he came into the club with.
I guess she didn't get to work with him or on him. Or how do you work on a man when you're a stripper? Do you on him?
You said it.
Do you work on him?
I don't know. Ask Roy. Apparently,
I wouldn't know.
Roy, do you go to strip clubs?
I'm married, no.
A lot of married men like go to strip clubs, I feel.
Yeah,
BT's is great, and BT's on the river is a spectacle, and the one in South Miami, which is a lot smaller and more intimate, is also pretty cool. I've heard from friends, people have told me about it. I don't know that I've ever, I've been there.
Of course, you know both
Just look
locations.
at IG. What are you talking about? I've been to both locations in one night. Okay.
Oh yeah, who has better food?
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Better wings over there.
Finger licking.
The licking.
So the licking. That's right. So, snow in Florida,
Fire
man.
to snow. Well, we've done it.
I've seen fire. I've seen rain. Historic
Mm-hmm.
snow. I guess if it just snows at all in Florida, that would be historic. But
Right.
the quantities of snow were wild.
Snow began falling yesterday afternoon, covering areas like Panama City Beach and Pensacola, some places receiving as much as 5 inches, an event few Floridians ever expected to see. Hazardous road conditions on I-10 forced travelers to stop at hotels overnight.
We have snowstorms in Dallas, but not like this. This is the first and incredible, like a blizzard on the interstate. And I was the only car at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Officials have closed roads and are urging residents to stay indoors as freezing temperatures persist.
They got 5 inches. That's what they got.
That's what I.
So is that what you got?
No.
So we went from making it rain to making it snow, and Tallahassee got about 2 or 3 inches. Milton, Florida. This was all this action was in the Panhandle of Florida. They got between 9 and 10 inches of snow in Milton. Pensacola got 7.5 inches. I mean, just a record-breaking snowfall, which of course proves that global warming is a lie.
It's the opposite.
Because it's
It's
snowing.
bullshit. Yeah,
Allow.
It's bullshit. Yeah. So it's and then you notice they changed it from global warming to climate change just in case. Well, it gets too hot, it gets
it's
too
too
cold.
woke.
It get I would say though, in not a meteorologist, folks, I would say record-breaking snowfall coming off a very busy hurricane season with very powerful storms and very hot waters in the Gulf of America. To record-breaking snow in Florida. We're talking about these records were doubled, by the way.
I think the beach pictures, like it's insane.
It's insane. It's like it looked like Miami in the 80s.
And
There was so much
amazing
white
is-
powder on the ground.
Nobody in Florida is ready. Like their wardrobe. But that guy was in a T-shirt. He was
yeah.
and we're getting snow, and he's still in a T-shirt.
It's like Guy Harvey over here.
And have you seen Florida people's winter clothes, you
No,
guys? Are
I
you
don't.
kidding
I'm
me?
This is my winter.
I'm wearing the only North Face thing that I own right now. So I'm just like, it's freezing out. It's like 58 degrees. I need a schmata.
I know, and you're wearing shorts. No, are you?
Well, I just came from the champagne room at BT's.
Of
so
course
wearing
you
my
did. No, but
mesh
that's-
shorts.
That's the Miami dress code. It's like this, it's always like a sweater that they got at like a sports game, right? Like a university
Like a
of
dolphin.
something. Yeah, like a dolphin sweater and like shorts and chancletas, and like, bro, like they're not equipped. I'm sorry.
Can you translate for our audience? What's a chancleta?
Chancletas?
Chancleta.
It's the thing that your mom uses for discipline. No, it's the yes, it's actually a tool for discipline that your parents wear on your feet or anyone wears on their feet. It's called what is it?
thongs,
Flip
yeah,
flops.
You can actually hire a girl at BT's to spank you with. I mean, I heard
They have the
from a
chancleta
friend.
special?
I heard from a friend. There's a
That sounds hot.
lady there.
You know, minor league baseball team named themselves the Chancletas for like a Hispanic
really?
heritage
That's
thing.
great.
Yeah, there's a cap and everything.
But I do want to say again, not a meteorologist, but I do want to say that going from a frightening hurricane season with warm waters
Insane.
and powerful storms, more powerful and plentiful than ever, to a January with like doubling the inches in snowfall in the state of Florida, it seems alarming to me.
We're on our like 12th day of like weather in our 60s. Wait, I mean, in the 60s, which is crazy for Miami because we don't have seasons. And this is the first year that I feel like we have a little bit of a season.
First year in a while, but like this all just feels like when people say when hell freezes over, it kind of feels like hell is freezing over.
I know
So
my Miami
Florida's
girls are all happy about this winter hair. Like there is like very little humidity. Like look at this winter hair, y'all. Like this is Miami girl hair heaven.
It's We went from Brat's summer to what's the winter?
To my
Miami
hair.
Girl hair winter. Is that
Miami,
what this is?
Yeah, Miami hair winter. I don't know. We'll make the words fit later. I said my Spanish was good, not my English.
I'm having a bad hair day.
No, you're having a great. Why were you bitching about your hairline earlier?
I'm just pining for compliments.
Your hair's amazing.
I'm feeling like Jesse on Full House today, though, about that. Everybody talking about the hair, me
Really,
included.
John Stamos? You're comparing yourself to Stamos?
No, I'm not. I'm comparing my hair.
Okay.
Well,
You're comparing your hair to Stamos?
God damn! Hang on. Where is it? Where donde está?
You're goddamn right, meatball.
Oh, man.
And Uncle Joey is actually just starting chemo, so let's give it out to Uncle Joey, not Jesse.
No.
Jesse's the one with the good hair, and Joey is
That's
starting
terrible.
chemo.
Godspeed, Dave Coulier.
From the Alanis Morissette song.
Yes.
Which one? Starting chemo? That's a song.
No.
Oh.
Jesus Christ. No.
Okay, I don't know.
No. Even though I hear they have very good health care in Canada. But no, you don't know. Are we going to have to tell? It's the 90s, Paula. How do you not know about this?
You were either a rap, what was it called, a basser or a rocker in the 90s, right? You only listened to rock or like
Roy,
Miami bass.
do you want to tell her?
I was Miami bass girl.
Yeah, it's Buddha base down here. I don't know about anybody else.
Are you going to tell her about Alanis Morissette and Dave Coulier?
Yeah, apparently Dave Coulier broke her heart.
Joey?
Yeah.
And in the song You Ought to Know,
No.
is about her breakup with Dave Coulier.
Are you thinking of me when you fuck her? That lyric?
Are you thinking of me?
Yeah. Are you thinking of me when you
Yeah,
fuck
and
her?
the theater episode?
You're lying.
No.
No, we're not making this up.
Shock.
Lie detector test determined that was a lie.
No.
one of your clips.
Why would I? By the way, why would I make that up? What a weird,
You are
weird
weird.
thing to make
You
up.
are
though.
weird.
But what a weird thing to make up. I am a historian, and I'm spitting facts right now.
Is Alanis Morissette? Okay, cool. Atlantis. I just call her Atlantis Morissette. Okay, I need to be.
That was a Freudian slip because Miami will soon be the lost city of Atlantis. You know, I really thought that Miami was going to be the case study for the loss, effectively, of a major American city and billions, if not trillions, of dollars in real estate as a result of a kind of climate-induced natural disaster. And it turns out L.A., of course, is going to be that case study and what's going to happen. And it's going to inform what's going to happen here just with respect to insurance and everything. And I don't think it's going to be.
And they're just trying to build and build and build and build and build, and they don't see it. Like,
what could
they're
possibly
trying to turn my island into Dubai. Have you seen?
We have run out of time to talk about that and your boy Luigi. So I just came from City Hall in Miami this week, which we will no doubt talk about next week, and you will see all about online with me versus, once again, going another round.
Oh, not this guy.
Grappling with Joe Carollo. And I'm having trouble finding the carts today.
How has Joe Carollo not taken a hit out on you yet?
Well, because he's a bully who likes to punch down.
In God we trust.
That's not the one I was looking for. That's the one, because he only likes to hit women. That was going to be my punchline for you. So now you're going to have to come back again so we can talk about your boyfriend Luigi Mangione.
Well, I can't claim that. I feel like he's everyone's boyfriend.
And we have to talk about, so I have apparently inspired Paula to go to her city hall.
Yes, you did.
And speak truth to power and try to stop the destruction of some beautiful historic buildings and completely destroy the character and history and personality of your neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I guess that's we'll do that
3 times the charm. I'll come back.
We'll do that next time. But coming up next, the prosecutorial misconduct scandal that has set Miami-Dade County ablaze is spreading.
After nearly 6 years of being behind bars, Isaiah Desir and Alex Alexander became free minutes after their second-degree murder and drug charges were wiped out. Prosecutors were counting on the third co-defendant, Latravius Roll, to testify against his friends. Roll, who was facing up to life in prison for the same murder, accepted a deal and got 3 years in exchange for his testimony. But this week, defense attorneys obtained an email sent by a former prosecutor, which they say proves Roll was forced to lie and threatened with a longer prison sentence. Because of the email, state attorneys were forced to drop the murder case. Borchew says it was another example of misconduct done by Michael Van Zandt, a former top prosecutor who resigned after he was disqualified from a death penalty case last year.
So this is the continuing fallout of a historic misconduct scandal that has been plaguing the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office, I would argue, for over 30 years. But this has just exploded in the last year. And now, since I believe November, these attorneys can correct me if I'm mistaken, there have been at least 3 people whose sentences were either drastically reduced or, in this case, were completely exonerated as a result of fuckery on the part of Katherine Fernandez Rundle, the Miami-Dade State Attorney, our top cop. Some people know that job in other states as a district attorney or DA. We call it a state attorney here in Florida. And she has been our state attorney since Janet Reno left for the Bill Clinton administration as Attorney General, 92, 93? That's how long she has been the prosecutor, and that's how long this Injustice Department has been churning bodies of innocent people, and in some cases, by the way, perhaps guilty people, but people whose constitutional rights were violated. Because, spoiler alert, Pauley, you can't frame a guilty person.
Okay.
You know, if law enforcement is violating constitutional rights, it's not okay, and people got to walk. And that does not make our community a safe place. When prosecutors are doing the wrong thing, whether it's to innocent people or guilty people, society kind of ceases to function properly.
But what does Miss Rundle get from, like, pardon my ignorance on this, I'm just like, what does she gain from having them released with her fuckery?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of what she gains, because what she has is consistent power for over 3 decades. And by the way, when you're a prosecutor, you have the power to deprive people of life, liberty, and property. You're more that's, I'd argue, more powerful than even the governor, arguably the president in some cases. I mean, you are the king or queen of the community in which your jurisdiction occurs. I think more to the point is that there are no consequences for this misconduct so far. And that's what's really troubling about it, is the total lack of accountability, particularly coming from the person who is supposed to be our top cop, who is supposed to be holding people accountable, who polices the police, who prosecutes the prosecutors in this case. And just for a little perspective on this, I want to show these 2 other cases that I was talking about.
Let's see.
In 2010, 15-year-old Sabrina O'Neill was gunned down. Taji Pearson was found guilty. Pearson got life in prison, but today that sentence was thrown out.
We could not confirm that it was turned over to the defense.
Prosecutors admitted some evidence was not given to Pearson's attorneys by the former prosecutor on the case, Michael Van Zandt.
Corey Smith, the leader of Liberty City's violent drug gang known as the John Does in the 1990s. Smith was sentenced to death for the murders of 2 people. But 2 decades later, the state will no longer pursue the death penalty.
If I call her and she refuses, then I will find a way to make her unavailable, and then I can read her whole testimony.
The senior prosecutor of the case, Michael Van Zandt, resigning in March over that damning jailhouse phone call to a convicted killer connected to the gang. A judge issuing a rare order earlier this year, removing prosecutors after misconduct, including manipulating witnesses and improperly withholding relevant records from the defense.
Criminal defense attorneys Michele Borchew and Adam Goodman have been involved in at least 2 of those 3 cases that we've talked about so far. Guys, welcome to Because Miami. I say welcome back to Because Miami. I want to start flashback to the first case that we were talking about at the top of the show, which is just happened last week. Can you give us a little bit of background on that case? How long has it been going on? And what is this kind of bombshell email that seemed to suddenly pop up that changed the fates of your clients?
Thanks for having us. So what I've been on the case, it's a 2019 case. The defendants had been in custody since 2019. They did go to a bond hearing, which they were denied the right to release pending their trial, even though going through the testimony, it seemed as if they probably should have been released, but a judge denied them that opportunity. And I've been on the case since, I believe, 22, maybe 21. And Michele just got on the case at the end of last year. We wanted to put together a good team on this case. We thought that would, 2 minds are better than one. And so as the case progressed, we were getting ready to proceed to trial. We thought it was a very weak case to begin with, independent of, I guess, the legal term you used is fuckery. That's the official legal term.
Pardon my Hebrew.
Yes, that's the official legal term, I think, that they teach in law school. And we were proceeding to trial as is with a co-defendant. Mr. Roll had taken a plea, I believe in 22. And as part of that plea, we were able to, do our public records request. And sometimes you get exactly what you want, and sometimes you stumble upon the correct, something that you didn't intend to get. And we were able to find an email from a prosecutor that basically spoke to Mr. Van Zandt, who I worked against and with when I was at the state attorney's office. And it was essentially along the lines of, we don't agree with what he's saying, with his sworn statements that he's provided to us. We know he wants to resolve the case. He needs to basically change his story to fit our theory of the case. Otherwise, he's going to be facing more jail time. All of a sudden, he changes his story.
Oh, how about that?
He comes to court. We do an evidentiary hearing maybe a week or two before trial, and he's now saying all of a sudden it's something totally different that was consistent with his prior sworn statements. And we did get lucky. Luck's often involved in some of these cases. Michele had a request pending, and the request came in after we picked a jury, and it came to us, and we were lucky that, we had good prosecutors, because there are good prosecutors at the office too. Casey Hughes, Alejandra de la Fuente were on this case. They were not on it very long. And within a day, before we even started court the next day, she done the right thing and decided that this isn't a case that they could proceed on in good faith, which is very tough to do on any case, but especially when there's next of kin involved. And they went through their proper channels and they, dismissed the case.
Michele, Adam says luck. I say raw talent. Because this is not your first. This is not your first rodeo in just the past few months. You've been on the show before. You talked about how the Corey Smith case. Here's a man who was on death row, who, because of prosecutorial misconduct, is no longer on death row. And you, I guess, kind of saw that as the first domino to fall here. And it was your, I think, as I recall, kind of casual observing of that case, just sitting in the gallery there, where you're like, oh shit, like a light bulb went off in your head. Like, I got to start digging around, because this is really, really bad here. And so what I want to ask, though, is that all roads seem to lead to Michael Van Zandt. It seems like the tree kind of rotted from him. But it appears to me in this case, I see that it's redacted in the video that we showed, but this email was not from Michael Van Zandt. This was from another prosecutor. So the bad apple spoils the batch here. So in this case, like, it seems like there is a culture of corruption in this state attorney's office, because this isn't like, I don't want to blame everything on Michael Van Zandt, because it doesn't seem necessarily that he was the culprit or responsible for the misconduct in this particular case.
Well, I would say that he had his hand in it. It goes to show how pervasive it is when you have a bad apple in an office, especially when that bad apple is put in a position to train incoming state attorneys, to train career state attorneys on what needs to be turned over, how you treat witnesses, how you take statements, and how you interact with the defense team. And here, the email was not directly from Michael Van Zandt. However, the prior state attorney that was handling the case said that she had consulted with him and reviewed the flip co-defendant's statement with him, and they collectively decided that it was not satisfactory. So that leads me to believe that he was obviously her supervisor or some type of mentor, and she went to him with a sworn statement that was under oath, and they decided that that statement doesn't fit their theory of the facts. It would not help them convict the two other co-defendants, and they gave him the opportunity to come in and make a new statement under oath. So one of them has to be a lie, right? If they're both under oath and they're different. And I would beg to say that the second one's probably the lie. And they moved forward with it. After that email was sent out, about 6 months later, he came in, gave a new sworn statement, and he was given credit time served and released from jail. So he gave them what they wanted, and it was something that put the pin in the casket, or the nail in the casket, to move forward with a case against the two other defendants.
So let me ask you, Adam, you could take this, and Michele, you could certainly contribute here. What does this say about the culture in the office? You know, I often say, because I for years I've been trying to figure out why there has not been an organized effort to get some new blood in that office. Again, we've had the same state attorney for over 3 decades, and I've always find that the criminal defense bar is usually pretty supportive of Kathy Rundle every 4 years at election time. I know part of it is just sort of, I guess, you know, force of habit or inertia, or you got to contribute to whatever campaign you can contribute to. Even though this is a nonpartisan position, no party or nobody has really put forth a kind of substantive challenge to her term after term and election cycle after election cycle. And I think that people kind of like how incompetent and corrupt the office is because they know how to deal with it. They know how to beat them. And I find that we now have, after over 3 decades, multiple generations of lawyers in South Florida who have been trained not in the law or the Constitution, but in Kathy's law. And so it's one thing what you learn in law school, and then it's another thing when you go to practice and are admitted to the bar in criminal defense or, you know, criminal justice or in the prosecutor's office here in Dade County, and you discover, well, this ain't like them law school textbooks that I learned from. This is a totally different game and a totally different set of rules, and it's whatever Kathy and her lead prosecutors like Michael Von Zandt and the people that he trains to misbehave apparently in this way. So what does this say about the culture overall at the office? You've said there's good prosecutors. Of course there are. There's a lot of people who work there. But is there a problem? Is this a pattern or practice? Is this pervasive?
Sorry, the light in my office keeps automatically shutting off. We're trying to save the earth with the lights.
I thought you kept having ideas while I was
No, we're trying to save the earth since well, I'm not going to get into politics. You know, it's an interesting thing because it's such a large office. I don't think people realize how big the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office is and how many attorneys there are, because there's not just the criminal aspect, but there's even the child support division, which when I work there, these are people you don't even know you work with them. They've been working there just as long as you. They could have been there 20 years. And I think what happens, and this is going to happen to any large office, probably in New York or any of these big cities, is that the offices are very large, so you have to delegate to a lot of people. And you have a lot of turnover because prosecutors, it's the same with the public defenders, are not paid a lot. Even Katherine Fernandez Rundle, you know, doesn't make a lot of money. I think it's like low 200,000, which is
pobrecita. I left my
money.
violin in the car. I'll play later for her.
No, but it's a lot of money, but it's not a lot for what someone can make in private practice, and with these law school loans and your debt and the price of everything going up.
So she's here because she's a public servant then, Adam.
She's I mean, I can't say why she's still doing it, but she's doing it as public service, and a lot of people who might want to do the job don't want to take the pay cut. But having said that, when you have a large office, you have a big turnover. And when you have a big turnover, I often say, you know, the cream rises and leaves. So a lot of people who are very good at that job will get an offer from someone else. And they either have kids in private school, or they're starting a family, or they have to pay off their debt. So they decide to leave. Some people stay and they love it, and they deal with the financial hardships, but some people can't. And I think when you start at that job, it's usually your first job. Now, there are some people who have worked at other jobs and have life experience, but generally speaking, your prosecutors are starting at around 25, 26, and they have no life experience, and they're getting supervised by attorneys who are 1 year ahead of them. And then once they are done, there are other supervisors, but there's so many courtrooms, they don't get to see how to train them because they're just basically managing the day-to-day. They then get to felonies eventually, and it's kind of the same thing. You know, a lot of people don't some get great training and some get not so great training. And I think that all comes down at the end of the day with how the office overly operates, and people are afraid to, you know, sometimes are afraid. And when you say the culture at the office, I've had, you know, some attorneys that say there's, you know, that work there that are no problems, and completely, I had a prosecutor call me last night who I didn't even really know her that well. And she's a higher up felony prosecutor. And she's like, I'm concerned working here because I don't like how I'm pressured to do certain things. I don't even really know her that well. I had to double check. Is she still a prosecutor? Like, I might have had one case with her. So I thought it was kind of interesting that she called me of all people. But, you know, some people are concerned with it because they work there and they're trying to do the right thing. And so when you say, at the beginning of the interview that there could be more powerful than like the president of the United States. Yes, when you're 23 years old, 26 years old, and you control someone's future. So it's tough to make the right call because you just don't know. And, I think that's kind of the problem is people who work there, it is hurting the community because even if it's relegated to a few cases here or there, you're scaring away good prosecutors, you're scaring away good attorneys, and you're building a distrust in the community. So when you have people come in for jury duty and they see a case, they're going to be distrustful of prosecutors because they've seen it on the news that this happens and that happens. And so people who the state might have a really good case against are going to, be found not guilty, or they're not going to be able to proceed on a case.
I want to touch on this as well and kind of link it up to the case that we're talking about. When I came on the case late in the game and I was trying to figure out why this person changed their statement so drastically, I started asking people about the prosecutor that was on the case before the current prosecutors. And everyone said she is reasonable. She's a straight shooter. She goes by the law. So I thought, all right, well, there's probably nothing nefarious here. And when I got that email with her name on it and her being directed by Michael Van Zompt to do what was done on this case, that's what made me really realize the pervasiveness of it. And it doesn't matter how many good prosecutors you have in an office. If you have bad ones that are directing them, that are turning a blind eye, and that are at the top of the office, that are supervising and that are making the ultimate decisions at the end of the day. So obviously I have a little more a different approach to it. I think that the bad apple does spoil the bunch. And I've had a lot of conversations with the quote unquote good prosecutors that left the office that I can say were good, that I had a good relationship with. They did the right thing. And it is often, if it's not, I'm overworked and have too large of a caseload, I refuse to play those games anymore.
Michele Borchew, Adam Goodman, criminal defense attorneys. If you get in trouble in Miami, you know who to call. Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
In a 24-page federal whistleblower lawsuit, Jose Suarez, the former executive director of the Bayfront Park Management Trust, says he was pressured to resign after raising concerns of misused trust funds under the direction of Commissioner Joe Coro, the chairman of the trust. Among the allegations, Suarez says the commissioner warned him to, quote, lawyer up after Suarez and Jose Canto, the trust's former director of finance, agreed to assist in an internal affairs investigation over alleged controlled substances that were found in a mobile veterinarian truck bought with trust funds at Maurice Ferre Park. This followed a $20,000 invoice from a private charter yacht where the men claim Coro held a personal holiday party.
In the immortal words of Miami poet laureate DJ Khaled, another one. Another one. It is another First Amendment retaliation lawsuit against Joe Coro. And this time, it's his former chief of staff, Jose Suarez, who he made the executive director of this Bayfront Park Management Trust, and Jose Canto, who was the trust's former finance director, are suing Joe for targeting them and retaliating against them when they became whistleblowers and tried to expose, if you can believe it, corruption and waste and mismanagement and misappropriation of funds at Bayfront Park, which is directly across the street from where we are right now. And the story is loco.
Loco.
It's loco. Like,
loquísimo.
I should mention this too. Jeff Gutchess is the attorney. He is the $63.5 million man. He won that corruption lawsuit against Joe a year and a half ago that they were awarded $63.5 million because that's how fucking corrupt he is.
What I have is very small.
And about less than 5 inches, I'm thinking. And so let's start here. Can we start with the cash rooms? Can we start with the money rooms? It's like something out of Casino. Totally.
Money rooms, right?
Yeah. Like
from the parking?
Yeah. It's like you can hear Joe Pesci like talking about this skim, like when you're watching this. But
next to Don Rickles.
So what's been happening is that they were taking cash for parking. And there was just employees running around with tens of thousands of dollars like a month Watch. So I got a chance to go to a press conference because they couldn't be here on the show to talk to the attorney Jeff Gutchis and the plaintiffs in this case. So you'll hear now from Jose Suarez, the plaintiff, and Jeff Gutchis, the attorney. Let's go.
The parking operation, that used to be a cash business. And apparently the money was stored in what was called the money room.
And in that room, any given night, there'd be $30 or $40 or $50 or $60,000 of cash sitting there.
There would be employees that would take, I don't know, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in cash to the bank to deposit.
And who knows what happened to any of the money along the way or where it went to.
One of my first actions was to cease that and turn it to strictly credit card operation, just because of the liability. Why would you ever put an employee in the position to walk around with tens of thousands of dollars to go deposit in the bank? A lot can happen between the trust and getting to the bank.
A lot can happen.
He was told not to do that it would result in lesser revenue, and of course it resulted in higher revenue because no more skimming, right? So once he required credit cards, the revenue went up.
A lot can happen. Like that Miami tax.
Este parking is cash only. You heard that in Miami so much. Cash only. Cash only. I love it so much. I can just imagine leaving the parking lot.
How the
Cash
buildings
only.
get built here.
Yeah. And by the way, apparently there's a story about how you could get VIP. So it was $20 a car, but VIP, $40. But nobody ever saw that other 20, I understand. So it's all sorts of alleged mysteries going on over there. And among the crazy accusations is they apparently bought with public money, with trust money, they bought a 2007 Ford trailer van that was worth, Blue Book, about $30,000. Well, they paid $115,000 for it to some shady fly-by-night LLC that kind of came and went for this transaction. And they did it on what they call an emergency procurement, which means there's no competitive bidding. That is mandated by city charter and by the law. They say, oh, this is an emergency. We have to get this. We want to get this mobile vet unit to be in the dog and cat park. We must have it now to offer veterinary services in our dog park at the Bayfront Park and Maurice Ferré Park. But yet it's emergency, but they've never used it. It's just been sitting there for 2 years, totally unused. And the story gets even crazier.
That's insane.
There was a pet mobile, a mobile veterinarian mobile that was purchased by the trust with the intent of providing veterinarian services at Maurice Ferré Park.
First of all, who puts a mobile veterinary clinic into a park in the first place? It's a crazy idea. They don't even have a vet to work inside the truck. And who did they buy it from? Where did this $115,000 go to?
This guy's the best.
What is a vetmobile without a vet?
It's just
I don't know.
Is it a guy driving?
An alleged money laundering operation? I don't know what the fuck it is. But
I also want to side note, Suarez is adorable. That man is so cute. Okay. Just in case he's sad about everything.
This show is apparently better than J-Date. You were flirting with David Sampson last week.
I'm in my 40s, Billy. What do you want?
You're all into date. Are you
just
okay?
Kidding. 37.
Are you okay?
No, that's crazy. He's very adorable. He's a very adorable man.
I'll give you his number.
But the vet thing, didn't they find drugs or something after?
Yes, because Miami, it gets even crazier. So maybe the reason that the price was $115,000 is because this wasn't just a car sale. It may have been a drug deal, because this guy, Jose Suarez, discovers all of these controlled substances, these animal drugs that should only be in the possession of a pharmacist or a doctor or a real veterinarian, but they were just stored in some closet in a city building.
Animal drugs.
I was taken to one of the storage rooms where there were veterinarian supplies there, medical veterinarian supplies. So I don't know exactly all of it, but I think it's all here. Looks like it is medical stuff. I don't know, because I haven't opened any of it. I immediately contacted our assistant city attorney, and the decision was made that the best option was to have the police department take possession of these
You were just saying animal drugs? Like what?
Animal drugs is like the last thing Miami needed. You know what I mean?
Puppy
like,
GHB.
Tranquilizers.
Yeah.
I can see Coro be like, I have a great idea, guys.
Let's feed dogs cocaine at the park is what we should do.
Yeah, for the rich.
Oh my gosh. We talked about the angels' trumpets. They planted these poisonous flowers in the dog park. And nobody knows how it happened. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. I actually broke the story. And the same day I broke the story, they ran to the park and started ripping them up. But again, no procurement, no invoices, no legitimate process. He does whatever the hell he wants over there. So angels, I don't know if you're familiar, angels trumpets, if you ingest them, they have like a hallucinogenic effect. So like there's children on field trips walking around. There's homeless people hanging out doing like eating angels trumpets for shits and giggles. And then you have dogs. It can kill dogs, but it's a dog park with poisonous fucking plants.
So you mean to tell me that they thought that flower was pretty and they just decided to plant it without any knowledge of what it is?
Nobody knows because they had these like weird meetings in a bunker underneath a Christopher Columbus statue behind Bayside. It's the weirdest, shadiest shit. And needless to say, this is like a 20-page complaint, and you're like, okay, this is short, but every page is a fucking movie. And there's a litany of other accusations.
There was an unpermitted fence that had to come down because it couldn't meet the city's code. And then there were 2 other fences that were not permitted and had to be permitted after the fact. The gym equipment was probably not properly procured. And then there was a trench. And apparently it was to deliver power to one of the food trucks on site. There were no permits, no electrical engineering drawing, nothing like that had been submitted to the city.
So I want to make it clear about this dangerous wannabe tin pot dictator hypocrite Joe Coro, which is that when he was targeting businesses, specifically Ball and Chain, for which they won a $63.5 million judgment against him for this unconstitutional targeting and political retribution, part of what he was going after them for was allegedly unpermitted work. And, you can't just get electric from another location. But it turns out that may be exactly what the hell he was doing. So there's this allegation that there's this food truck who is a very really close with Coro and his wife. They're big political contributors and supporters of his, and they have this food truck that they needed power for it. So they dug like a 200-foot trench across a grassy field in Bayfront Park so that they could tap into, this is the claim in the lawsuit, they can tap into power from the park, like from a sign at the park.
No.
So effectively and allegedly stealing electricity from the public park.
Can this be proved? That was proved?
This is the lawsuit. They'll have discovery. They'll go through this process. It's absolutely nuts. And of course, you heard some of the other allegations, Paul, about that he was directing like an overpaying contracts to political allies, to companies with a relationship with him and his wife, and who they were allegedly getting like kickbacks.
The one that was really stood out to me was that the $100,000 for a party called Havana Fridays, right?
Well, what he's been doing is he's been, in my opinion, misappropriating money.
What's Havana Fridays?
So this is this event.
Where's it at?
On Cayocho. It's a Domino Park in Cayocho, across from Ball and Chain, but that's nowhere near Bayfront Park. So he's been sending money out of the park to his own district for other events, which that's not what the money, it's not a slush fund that he could do whatever the hell he wants with it. For example, he spent $150,000 paying a TV station, another political ally, that gave him a show, by the way. He gave him a show, but he paid them $150,000 to air the New Year's Eve concert at Bayfront Park. But why would you pay a station to do that?
To air that, right.
They would pay you, or you'd get it for free and you'd split ad revenue. He says they got ad revenue, but it was only $130,000, which means that they're down they're down $20,000. But more importantly, people have theorized that all he did was pay $150,000 to this TV station to run an infomercial for him, because he's going to run for mayor this year. By the way, that's not bullshit. He is running for mayor this year.
And you're running against him, right?
They're very good. I don't even.
Little Billy Corben.
I don't even live in the city as.
Come on, if you want Billy for mayor, just drop a comment.
Now, and here's the problem. By my count, Jose Suarez is the 4th or 5th former Joe Coro staffer who has defected, who has either sued him and or testified against him. So, like, the dominoes just keep falling, and to understand what it's like, this toxicity and the reason why people flip the way they do.
Commissioner Coro intimidates people. He threatens them, he bullies them, and that leaves many members of the board compliant. They don't dare to stand up to him. Same thing with employees.
I don't think I've ever witnessed something being rejected that he wanted by the board. Overwhelmingly, that board, I believe, is a rubber stamp.
He's a bully, and I attended one of those meetings. It's like a communist Politburo. He just filibusters for 3 hours, and everybody sits around nodding. They'll bang the table, and they'll tell him how smart and how handsome and how funny he is, and then they just vote on whatever the hell it is that he wants.
Why does he have so much magnetism? Like, does he have charisma? Like, what is it?
No, he's just a bully.
Bully.
That's all, and he threatens and intimidates people.
But that doesn't work on Miami people that much. Like, I feel like Miami people they push back. Like, why don't they?
People are scared because they are the government, because they've watched him crush people's hopes and dreams and businesses and livelihoods, and they've seen how alternately incompetent and corrupt this government is, and they just don't want the heat. They want to keep their heads down. Listen, we have a town full of complicit cowards. I mean, is really the bottom line if you want to call them out. But the truth is that I'm empathetic. They are scared. Because this is a guy that punches down,
and who's going to run against him?
That's what a bully does. They pick on people who have less power.
Oh no, I know. I'm a bully. Like, I know that. Don't worry. You don't have to explain to me what that is. I've made many people cry. But no, dude. Like, someone needs to run against him. Okay, that's it.
Well, there's gonna be a button. Alex Diaz-Laportilla, who just got let out of jail. They dropped those corruption, bribery, and money laundering charges against him. He's probably running for mayor. Manolo Reyes, I hope he's in better health. He's been very sick lately. He's planning on running for mayor.
No, you.
I'm not. I am. You know how they say never say never. Never. I don't live in the city. I'm not even eligible to run.
Which isn't a coincidence.
Yes. Well,
he shouldn't be either.
I want to give Joe Carollo equal time because I'm nothing if not fair. This is Joe Carollo's response.
This is hogwash. They're lying through their teeth. This will get thrown out in a federal court because there's no whistleblower. If this wasn't so low and dirty, it'd be laughable. I hate to inform Mr. Soros and Mr. Canton, you ain't gonna get any money. This is Miami, so nothing surprises me any longer.
What is he hiding inside on his teeth? Why does he refuse to move the upper part of his mouth?
I know that's your takeaway.
Is that tobacco?
You don't want to talk about whatever the hell that is behind him.
Yeah, but like, you just like talk like this the whole time.
But you want to talk
what's underneath his lip? No, I want to talk about that painting. Hold on.
What is that? Yeah.
Does it belong to him?
I imagine that monstrosity.
What is it?
It's a
the Cuba.
It's a cock in the American flag, right?
I think it's Cuba and the U.S. melt together.
Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, so the top is the American flag, the bottom half is the Cuban flag, and the middle is a giant cock.
It just sounded like a giant cock.
Yeah. I don't know what the flag code says about this, but I'm pretty sure that's a flagrant.
Yes, that's got to be some amendment. Yeah, that's wrong, like breaking some amendment.
Jesus, look at that. Amazing. Look at that. Two cocks we're looking at right now.
Yeah, you got the American flag, the Cuban flag, a cock, and a rooster.
Oh my.
What I have is very small.
Unbelievable.
Wait, you need one of those, dude. That is amazing.
I love, but the lady doth protest too much, methinks. You hear he's like, this is going to get thrown out of federal court. Joe Carollo always thinks he's the smartest lawyer in the room. The problem is he isn't a lawyer, and the only lawyers he has are being paid for by the taxpayers. It's remarkable.
Joe Carollo. I've learned everything. So what? Be her wife, be her. Yeah, that's Joe Carollo. I love that song. I want it to be my ringtone. That's really good.
Cocaine's.